From sailing solo for thousands of miles around Japan to working on commercial fishing boats in Canada, our next founder is no stranger to the wild. Evan Burkosky, the CEO of Kimaru.ai, is now navigating the equally unpredictable waters of artificial intelligence.
Kimaru.ai is an anti-chatbot AI, rethinking how we interact with intelligent systems. Founded in Japan by Indian and Canadian co-founders, it's a truly global venture. He's here to talk about the one skill that's essential for navigating any venture in his talk titled Startup Survival, Storytell or Die.
Evan makes a powerful argument that your pitch isn't a document, it's a living story. In this talk, he explains why constantly refining your narrative is the most critical survival skill for any founder, essential for raising capital, closing deals, and building a team that truly believes in itself. Here's Evan.
I'm a 4-time founder, and in between my own startups, I've worked at unicorns, brought multiple VC-backed high-growth startups to the Japanese market, been an angel investor, and coached over 300 startups on their pitch decks. And I've been through accelerator programs where I received expert coaching myself. And I have to confess, I still struggle to get my own pitch right. In the past year alone, I've revised it over 1,000 times. Not just tweaked it, rewritten the core narrative, who we are, what we do, why it matters, over 1,000 times. Every diagram, every slide, and every day I work on it, every single day. And I'm here to tell you, that is the work. That is the actual job of a founder. Not just building the product, not just closing the deal, not just aligning the team, crafting the story, and then recrafting it, and recrafting it again. Because all of these things depend on conveying the story just right. Now, most founders I know treat their pitch like a document. You write it, you rehearse it, you deliver it, done. Move on to the real work, right? No. If you do that, your startup will die, because the story is the real work. And if you're not carving out time every single day to refine, evolve, and sharpen your narrative, your startup is in danger. Now, early on, I made the mistake that every technical founder makes. We had built something genuinely powerful. Patented causal engines, decision digital twins, AI agents that simulate the ripple effects of supply chain decisions before you make them. Deep, real silence. So I told that story. Everywhere, to everyone. The same story. I was consistent. And I was totally wrong. Because consistency is actually the enemy of connection. An investor doesn't need to understand your architecture. A customer doesn't care about your tech. Your engineer doesn't need the grand vision. They just need the story that they personally connect with. So one of my investors, a senior engineer who spent years at Apple, a really smart guy, he put his own money behind us. We had lunch the other day, and I asked for his input on my latest version. And he sat there listening intently, nodding, just captivated. And at the end, he told me, yeah, I don't understand any of that. Evan, you think very abstractly. You're talking in buzzwords, and I want schematics. But I believe in you. Now, of course, it's kind of painful to get feedback like that, but it's not necessarily a failure. It's a signal. It told me the version I was giving him wasn't connecting with how he thinks. Because every person needs a different version of your story. Not a different story. The same truth, but told at a different altitude. Your investor version, your customer version, your engineer version, your 30-second version, your 1-second version. So if you have only one pitch, like I did. I kept consistently delivering exactly the same pitch. What I came to realize is if you have only one pitch, you don't have a pitch. You have a monologue. Now, through 1,000 revisions, I've landed on a framework that I think every founder can use. And I call them the 3 altitudes. First is the 30,000-foot vision story. This is for investors, partners, and the press. It's the why this matters to the world story. And it has to be ambitious enough to be worth believing in, yet simple enough to repeat in a single breath. Now, founders live at this altitude. We see the whole landscape. Now, the mistake is assuming that everyone else can see it too. They can't. You have to compress years of thinking into seconds of clarity. And you have to keep compressing it because your company evolves and the market shifts and the story that worked a month ago is already out of date. Now, the next level is the ground level attitude. This is the pain story. This is for your customers, and the rule is absolute. It must begin in their world, not yours. I spent almost a year opening customer conversations with our technology. But when I changed to talking about their Tuesday morning reality, it connected with them, and the technology became obvious without me having to explain it. Now, this version has to be rebuilt for every vertical, every persona, every use case. The manufacturing CEO needs a different story than the logistics director, who needs a different story than the procurement VP. You must speak in their language. This means using the acronyms that they use. If you don't use the language they use, they will feel that you're not in their category, and they will ignore you. Now, the last level is the blueprint level, and this is the team story. This is the one that most founders skip, and it's the one that costs you the most personally. Now, my co-founder and I are both architects, and we think in systems and frameworks. And we can see the whole nervous system of what we're building, how data flows in, and how signals get detected, how recommendations get routed to the right person at the right time. Made perfect sense to us. But we were showing the team this whole network diagram when what engineers really need to see is just their node, just their part of the system. Now, talented engineers, when they see that, they'll nod and say yes, but a lot of the time, they'll then go off and build something completely different. Now, not because they're not capable, but because we'd shown them the entire system and not conveyed the specific direction that connected for them. When you skip this altitude, people don't push back, they just quietly disconnect. And one day they leave. I've had this happen even recently. A highly treasured member of our team couldn't see the path forward, became demotivated, and just drifted away. So, 3 altitudes, and dozens of versions of each one, constantly evolving. Because if you don't get it right, you will fail to secure funding, close deals, build your team, and your startup will die. Now, I personally struggled to get this right, and I actually love storytelling. I love being up here on stage. And in fact, the only thing that makes me nervous when I'm up here is that I'll go over time because I could talk all day. So if this is storytelling is hard for me, what do you do if you're an introvert and you don't, love the spotlight? Well, you've still got to get in front of people. Now, maybe it doesn't have to be a crowd, but reach out to trusted mentors, friends, family, former coworkers. Talk to anyone and everyone. If it's more comfortable for you, get in maybe on a one-on-one environment. Get invited onto podcasts, Just speak to people that you're comfortable talking to, but you have to keep refining that narrative. And after every call, you have to learn and revise and keep iterating that narrative. You have to think what landed and what didn't. What question did they ask that I should have answered before they had to ask it? Force yourself to get on stage and pitch, if you can, and after every pitch event, rewrite, after every mentor session, update. The founders who succeed are the ones who treat their narrative like their product, something you ship, measure, learn from, and iterate on relentlessly. So, 1,000 revisions and counting. My mother still doesn't quite know what I do, but that's not a failure. That's my next iteration. If I can make her understand it and feel it and care about it, I can make everyone understand it. Every founder in this room has a story, and right now, it's probably not sharp enough. Not because you're not smart enough or experienced enough, but because the story is never finished. It's always one revision away from being better. The founders who survive are not the ones with the best technology. They're the ones who never stop refining the narrative, who treat every blank stare as a signal, every polite rejection as a draft, and every new audience as a reason to rewrite. Your story is the most important thing you will ever build. So invest in it like a product. Iterate on it like code. Evolve it every single week. And storytell or die.